And now, it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Barbara Marx Hubbard. And she's much more than our keynote speaker because this entire conference has been built around her wheel of co-creation, a symbol for systems which now are coming together in harmonious ways, which are developing an understanding of each other. She's going to talk to us tonight about why she created the wheel, what it represents, and how it provides us with a template for the future. And after she does that, she's going to be joined on the stage with two members of the Federation of Davenport, which is arguably, and I do believe, the only full-spectrum planet community on the planet. So we hope to inspire you greatly with Barbara's presence here. She's been at my place for the last 2 days, and she's inspired me in ways that I can't even begin to explain. So let's give her a warm welcome, and thank her for coming all the way from California.
So much wisdom. I could talk very quickly after so much wisdom. But I want to share with you why I think we can take a quantum jump. All the wisdom about all the stages and how we have to go step by step by step, but actually something new has happened on Earth, and it happens to be a crisis. And what you understand when you learn about evolution is that crises precede transformation. Problems are evolutionary drivers. And the way nature has taken jumps for billions and billions of years at a time of crisis is either going extinct or jumping to a higher order to be able to connect various elements to create a new whole system greater than, different than, and unpredictable from the sum of the parts. And I'm going to put forward the intuition that we've hit such a crisis. It has been said that 5, 10, 15 years from now, if we do not change very, very quickly, we're over 7 billion people now, there may be only 2 billion left. We're talking a horrendous crisis. So all of these sequences are going to speed up or not, and we'll see. So here is how I began to understand the nature of the situation. I would say the first great revelation was Teilhard de Chardin. When he was able, as a Jesuit paleontologist, never published by the church in his lifetime, he basically discovered God in evolution. He basically discovered what he called the law of complexity consciousness. As systems become more complex, they jump in freedom, order, intelligence, and love. And that's a multi-billion-year trend. I realized that he then said we're about to jump to a next level of wholeness, and he called it the noosphere, the thinking layer of Earth, N-O-O-S, mind sphere. And it was his sense that the next quantum jump would occur when enough love, creativity, and innovation connected within the thinking layer of Earth or the global brain, the whole system would shift in consciousness far more quickly than an additive methodology. And I must have been about 32 or 33 years old when I read about the noosphere. And I think I'm the only person on Earth who fell in love with the noosphere. It was before the internet. It was before that we could really know what this would be. But I recognized that these quantum jumps to higher consciousness, greater freedom, and more complex order, with a divine process within it, was going somewhere. That evolution is directional, and the place where it's going was where I wanted to go. Now that was really an amazing thought. I happened to be a housewife in Lakeville with 5 children who was frustrated and depressed. Why was I frustrated and depressed? Because there was something in me that was more. And it was considered neurotic. Neurotic. 5 children? She wants more? What is this? So I read Abraham Maslow. I understood, well, self-rewarding work, vocation is the key to self-actualization. I didn't have vocation. I didn't have life purpose other than I loved my children. I loved my husband. But it did not touch the inner impulse of creation within me. So dealing with the neurotic tendency that I had to think something great was coming, to think I had a part to play in it, to think there was something great that I was born to do. I happened to read Teilhard de Chardin, and I saw, oh my God, here it is. It's to go upward toward participating in evolution to make that quantum jump. And I recognized a whole shift of identity, is that each of us, I am the universe in person. And the impulse in me for more creativity, love, and goodness is the same impulse that created the entire universe. So I incarnated the impulse of creation. And I believe it exists in everyone as life purpose. It exists in everyone as the yearning to express your unique potential for the greater good of the whole. Now, it's true if you're caught in many situations where you are not able to do that, it's not so obvious. But here's the amazing thing, there are now enough people on earth who are not caught, who have the freedom, who are in not just the second tier perhaps, but who have enough food, who have enough clothing, who have enough awareness, and we have the internet and the noosphere, that if you could do a planetary scan and imagine how many people on Earth now would like to realize their greater potential, would like to overcome a crisis that could lead to the destruction of life on Earth, would like to participate in something greater if they had a call. How many do you think it would be? Would it be enough? Just think of that. If you scan the planet, is Mother Earth giving birth to enough of us? Are we all geniuses in this room? Are we all totally extraordinary? Have you ever met anyone else like us? I'm meeting people like us everywhere. In fact, everywhere I go, there are people who are waking up. So my first thought is, we have a crisis, and what I learned from Prigogine after Teilhard de Chardin is Prigogine won the Nobel Prize for his study of dissipative structures. And he answered the question, how does nature get from entropy or disorder to higher order or syntropy for billions and billions of years? Disorder tends to increase in a closed system. How is it that we've been eating entropy into higher order for all these years? And this is, in a very simplified way, what he discovered. When a system is becoming dysfunctional, it uses more and more of its energy in handling its own dysfunctionalities. Does that sound familiar? Every problem we have, we're trying to solve by doing more of the same. More military, more prisons, more wealth, and so on. Meanwhile, in that system, innovations or mutations start cropping up everywhere. In health, in education, in economics, in energy systems. There is a design in the process of creation where when the system is becoming dysfunctional, innovations are cropping up and there's a tendency for them to connect. And he called it nonlinear, exponential interaction of innovating elements. And the system cooperates in its own self-transcendence. Nonlinear, exponential interaction of innovating, creative, loving initiatives, getting into convergence before the system completely collapses and destroys all the entities within the system. It's a very dangerous moment. But if that tendency for innovations and creative solutions to connect works quickly enough, the actual entropy of the dysfunctional system is the energy which the syntropy uses to take the jump. In other words, you have to have disorder. You have to have crises in order for the system to take the jump. And it seems to me we have precisely the level of crisis we need. I mean, it's serious. We can't ignore it. We can't just say, well, we can't kill it with a gun. We can't shoot at it. And it is global warming and the whole mix of problems that goes with it. So after I studied Prigogine and Teilhard de Chardin and Buckminster Fuller, who said we have the resources, technology, and know-how to make the system work for everyone, so I was going on that thought, it occurred to me that what we need is nonlinear, exponential interaction of innovating elements in such a way that they could quickly connect with each other and jump the system to a higher order. And so I invented a wheel. I invented the wheel of co-creation. And if you can imagine for a moment the whole graphic image, which I'm sorry I don't have with me, but it starts in the mind of the cosmos, the mind of God, and it spirals up: universe, earth, life, animal life, human life, every turn on the spiral, higher order, higher complexity, higher consciousness. And then this is our huge turn on the spiral. It's a wheel. And the core of the spiral is going through the hub and the heart of the wheel. And the hub and the heart of the wheel is our essence, our love, our spirit, our longing, and you might say the impulse of evolution driving within us to be more, to do more, to love more, to express more. And at the time of crises, the inner impulse of evolution shows up strong, because it's the way nature helps the system to move fast enough to take the jump. So we invented the wheel of co-creation in the 1970s in the Committee for the Future in Washington, D.C. And we started to do conferences in this big wheel, and we designed the wheel to have 12 basic functions: health, education, economics, science and technology, energy, arts, media, and so forth. And we developed what I think is the very seed of the beginning of democracy, synergistic democracy. We invited all kinds of difficult people who disagreed with each other: black power leaders, white Southerners, welfare mothers, police officers, ambassador from Bangladesh, every different type of person that we could find with different interests. And we asked them to go into the center of the wheel, and their goal was to actually be able to be empowered to create their deepest heart's desire. We didn't ask them to go in there to vote or to win or to find out win, lose. We asked them to go in to see if they could get what they most deeply wanted to create. And in each sector of the wheel, we developed task forces whose purpose was to say what they wanted to create, what they needed to create it, that they didn't have, and what resources they wanted to share. And we would take hundreds of people, and we'd have them then speak to each other from the core, from the sectors of the wheel. What do I want to create? What do we need? And when they said, what do we want, what do we need, they would stop and ask, is there anyone who has a resource to meet our need? Always. If we did that in this audience tonight, and if we were in a circle rather than in rows, and we had a goal, let's say it's a goal that's being established here, that's being established by Laura, the Peace Pentagon. If that were our goal, and we were in a synergistic convergence circle in all the different sectors, and everyone was able to say, this is how we can create it, this is what I need to create it, these are the resources I want to share. Within 3 hours, we would have had assembled a team to do it. It's truly amazing. And so what happened in these circles, Edgar Mitchell came in once when we were in the middle of taking down the walls between the sectors, because they were only removable walls. It's all one body. And each group was saying, this is what I want to create, this is what I need. And people were raising their hands and doing it. I call it vocational arousal. The supra-sex was circulating through the entire group because they could join to create. the way it was working is joining genius to create. And so when all the walls came down, we met as a whole system. For that moment, that group was a whole system. And their capabilities were so much greater than it was when they were separate or apart. And we did it 25 times until I ran out of money, basically, because we didn't know how to organize the whole thing. But I'll tell you one quick thing that I did. Right after doing the 25 Syncons, I decided it's so successful that I would, in the influence of Buckminster Fuller, run to be selected as the vice presidential nominee on the Democratic ticket in 1984. And the idea was to tell this story into the political arena. And by running for vice president, you get a chance to tell the story. I'm basically a storyteller, not a politician. But I did a really good job of telling this story. And there were small groups forming all over the country for the point of getting me over 200 delegates by July 28th, 1984, at the Democratic National Convention to be nominated. And I was told I'd be lucky to get one delegate if she were my mother. And I got in there without any support from the Democratic Party, and I was able to have 30-second speeches at South Dakota, 5:30 a.m., things like that. And I would say, I'm Barbara Marx Hubbard, I'm running to be selected as the Vice President of the United States, and I'm proposing in the office of the Vice President a peace room as sophisticated as a war room. And what we're going to do in the peace room is map, track, and connect what's working in America and the world. And every week, the Vice President is going to tell the people from the source of the Democratic Party what's working in the United States, what's working in the world, and how can people participate in making more work. They loved it. And in 2 days, I had over 200 delegates. And I was the other woman whose name was placed in nomination for the Vice Presidency of the U.S. And Walter Mondale was nominated, and he chose Geraldine Ferraro. But the reason I'm telling you this is when I stood up there at that platform at the Moscone Center in San Francisco and gave my speech to fulfill the dream that was so totally impossible to have done, I realized, no, it's completely possible. So I would like to give a thought here that the way we could actually do this now, let's say we take a 5 to 10 year time frame, and I'll take 5 years first up to 2020, a 5-year plan. And we're going to put out a call through, we're going to really work for one missing link, is an internet site capable of connecting those who want to create in a truly synergistic manner. There are quite a few contenders for this internet site. So I'm looking, and we're looking for that capability, which isn't quite there yet, but it's very, very close. And the call is made by many different people, but to a goal that, let's say by International Peace Day 2020, there will be a critical mass of people actually joined to create in every sector of the wheel what they would like to see created, what resources they need, and what gifts they want to give, such that we would begin to see the outlines of the new world and how it could actually work. Because the fact is, we already know the new energy, the new systems, the new healthcare in small ways. One more degree of connectivity of that in the wheel and calling for a mass linkage of the people who want to join to create it. I'm proposing that within 5 years we could be on our way to shifting the consciousness of Earth, because we now have a new nervous system. Planet Earth grew a new nervous system in the last 10 years. Facebook is the 3rd largest nation in the world. That's totally amazing. And then, of course, with Google and LinkedIn and over 7 billion cell phones, we're linked. And that since the power structures cannot be the change agents, the top-down dominator structures, whether it be the political structures, the global corporations, the organized religions, the university structures, are structured not to do this. We are structured to do it. we don't have to call, and we need that internet site. And I would like to declare that we place the wheel of co-creation to fill it out on a global scale, to reveal by 2020 that we already have a world that could work for all, and we can avoid the crisis and collapse foreseen. Thank you.